Boom. I was thinking about sports and kind of the highest level of sport recently because the Summer Olympics just passed. I love sports. I'm not a big spectator. I'd rather be in the arena and playing and doing my own thing than kind of watching people compete. But I do like sports, and I appreciate that highest level of a game. And I don't think anything even approaches the Olympics. I mean, I'm all for pro football, basketball, the elite levels, Tour de France. I'm actually going to talk about that in another post. But I think the Olympics are the pinnacle. It's for the most part not people that are making the highest wage. I mean, the truly elite figure out a way to get into there, but a lot of it is, what we would consider second tier sports or sports that are not at the highest paid level. And then the margins for victory in almost every one of those disciplines is mind-boggling, and it's a pitiless pursuit as well because there's people, we run our Olympic trials like in track and field, swimming. I don't know if people know this, those that follow sports do, but the Olympic trials, they are aptly named because some of our best athletes don't make the Olympics because they just had a bad day in the trials. So it's a pitiless pursuit. But I was watching the Olympics. I'm going to start with him, and I'm actually not going to talk about it right away. I'm going to finish with him. But I was listening to Michael Phelps in an interview, and I'll return to that. But it really made me think as I was watching him, inarguably by number of medals and records and stuff, the greatest Olympian of all time. Somebody's going to cringe at that and start throwing other names out. He's got so many medals. It's sort of beyond reproach. So let's put him in the category of the GOAT, right? Greatest of all time. And it really made me think about that idea of truly the greatest players in any discipline, how that is even significantly different from elite and pro level players, that gap is very different. And it's different in ways that I don't think everybody realizes. And I think it's frankly what's up here and kind of what's in here, not the muscle, not the talent, not the ability. It is a mindset that is utterly different. So I'll get back to Phelps, but the people I'm talking about are the Jordans, right? I mean, his level of intensity. I mean, I remember watching that miniseries on the Bulls and him recently, and you're seeing him talk about stories that happened 30 some odd years ago. I think that guy wakes up in the morning and probably makes $20 million on revenue from all the brands he's created. And he is still upset about things that happened on the court, in a game, in preparation to this day. It is a level of intensity very few people will ever be able to tap into. And frankly, it's probably unhealthy, but that is what it takes to get to that highest level of performance. Gretzky is another one. Wayne Gretzky in hockey is, I've heard people say, Wayne Gretzky is like the Michael Jordan of hockey. You're like, no, Michael Jordan's actually the Wayne Gretzky of basketball. If you took, Gretzky is the all-time leading point scorer in the NHL. If you took all his goals away, he's still the all-time leading point scorer. That's how much better he is than anybody that's played that game. Eric Clapton. I heard an amazing story about Eric Clapton recently, right? Nobody's going to put that guy in any other category than one of the greatest musicians, guitar players, singers, songwriters that ever lived. There's a story that says that Eric Clapton heard Jimi Hendrix play and almost put his guitars away. It's like, what am I doing? There's not even a reason for me to do this when that exists. That's that different from elite to GOAT. I'll get back to Michael Phelps. The thing that I saw this summer that I thought was so interesting is, he's the kind of colored commentator and the celebrity that comes in to talk about the sport. And at one point during the Olympics, the major competition in sports, although France has an amazing year and a bunch of other countries are always in the mix, is USA versus Australia. Those are the two just juggernauts in the swimming world. And we're often trading champions, both in Olympics, World Championships every year. Australia was exceptionally strong this year as ever. They dominated us, as I understand it, in the World Championships. And after the World Championships, which I think took place in Australia, or at least this interview took place in Australia, a female swimmer, it doesn't matter the name, and I'm not giving her a hard time, to be honest, kind of commented negatively on the Americans having beat them. The Australian commentator is saying, hey, great that you guys won this championship. It must be fun to beat the Americans. And she sort of went off. She's like, there's nothing better than beating the Americans. They're always in the mix. We like beating them. And then she went a little bit further on the personal side and was like, every time these Americans warm up and they're heading to the pool, their fans start ringing these cowbells. It's torture. It's annoying to listen to. I hate it. And so on and so forth. It's kind of like just was doing some pretty legit digs into kind of the American swim team. During an interview, as Phelps is kind of talking about, someone shows him this video. He hadn't seen it before. You should Google him watching this interview from this Australian performer. The like aura and sense of a competitor you can see just shifts inside his body. It upset him to a point that you could tell he was ready to detonate. I mean, he actually put the laptop down and was like, well, I mean, look, if you ever wanted to give us a little more fire, if I was on that American team right now, I'd be like, that's it. We're going to bury you in every race. I'm going to go a little bit harder. You wouldn't need me to give motivation. You wouldn't need to give me that much motivation to perform that much better. That mindset, that just intangible of being almost offended that your preparation, your ability, and your desire to win could be challenged, that's the difference from even the great to the greatest of all time. I share this story because I think there's just some lessons to harvest from it. I'm not going to beat them up. I just say, is there anything you're putting the intensity into that it almost gets you to a point of like blood boiling upset because either somebody's challenged it or you're trying to get to this great goal? Figure out a way to be the GOAT in something you're doing. You're going to perform at an insanely high level.